Once or twice here, Chris, as it starts recording. That's your take. And that's why I said, even when I watch your takes, it's what we were talking about earlier today, the amount of weight you get forward in your front leg. You can see how your back shoe even starts to slip. See how it's going forward with you? That's what I was talking about, trying to maintain pressure in your back shoe as you stride, which I'll show you with our pro player over here. That's Paul Konerko, yep. Played for the White Sox. Very, very good mechanically. But if you see me getting him into his stride, notice how his back shoe stays in the ground. He's pressing that shoe into the ground. Now, he's not thinking about that in a game, but when you're doing your tee work and certainly your front toss, like if you know what speed of pitch is coming, you can think of that. So that weight isn't going to transfer until he starts to turn. That's when you're going to see that heel come off the ground or the shoe move a little bit. So that was on a take, and I mentioned it to you, and then your next one, you hit better. Okay, I'm going to slow that down from here. So we're going to take you into your load now. We said the load we want to be against our backside and keep that back leg firm. So when I watch you, there's nothing it can get over our back shoe. My back knee has to stay inside my shoe. But notice how your back hip and shoulder both get over your shoe, right? So we're going to firm up that backside enough where you'll notice with our pro player on the other side, I call this like a wall that extends up to the ceiling, and everything's going to stay inside that wall. And my camera moved a little bit, but you get the idea. That nothing, the shoulder and the hip don't go over his shoe at any point. So we got to firm up that back leg more into your stride, in your load. Do a good job of compressing your hips down. We talked about that earlier today in camp. Front hip compresses against the back one. You're going to ride out. It's almost like your butt cheeks are turned to the pitcher as you ride out without turning your torso. There's your scapula. You have a really slow loading mechanism, which is great. You don't really see that on high-speed video. But see how you're into your scapula now. You see how the elbow is elevated and pulled back as you're striding out? And it maintains that position, hopefully, as you begin to turn in the next frame. Good. So that's the torque of your swing. That's a great frame to stop you at. And this is what I mean when I said visually when I was with you today that you're in sequence. Sequence means your body parts are working in the correct order. So your legs are firing first, and the scapula is still pulled back. So you guys are in the same position right there. It looks like you're wider. That's just the camera distorting. You're not actually too wide. You're in a good position. But your legs are starting to fire, and the hands are still back. So what that does is it stretches your core. You can see those lines in your shirt, that stretch. It stretches your core enough there that the tighter the core, the faster the leg energy travels to the upper body. So your leg energy becomes very usable, which is good. That's why you hit the ball so hard. I'm going to take you into what we call connection next. So at this point, I want your hips and that rear elbow to turn together. So I can see how your elbow joint there is connected to your hip joint. You're going to turn together until they finish turning into the ball. So that's your position of contact right out in front of your front hip. So good position there. At the end, everything is dependent on how well your front leg maintains its firmness. So you're hitting against a firm front leg that's into the ground. It maintains its position in the ground. And that way you're using all that backside energy against your front leg, which you do well too. So as I mentioned earlier, the sequence of your swing works very well, and the mechanics of it are correct. What needs to be a little bit better is how well you're pressing into the ground with your shoe when you're striding. That's going to take care of you lunging forward at pitches. The back shoe will move even as you turn, as it's doing here. So you see where back shoe is now. It's turning and it's moving forward some. But the amount that yours is moving, which is quite a bit, tells me there's still a little weight in your front leg prior to the turn. So the only guys that have a lot of back shoe movement are the guys that are extremely wide at foot down. And you're not. You're average. You're where you should be. But there'll be a little movement by that back shoe, as you see there, but very minimal. I mean, that's moving like an inch or so for a guy that has a normal foot distance or foot width at foot down, which you do. So that's the biggest area of need for you in adjustment is thinking of your back shoe staying into the ground as you step. Okay, Chris?